How a peel works. A peel keeps produce fresh for longer thanks to the help of a little extra peel. Our plant-based protection slows water loss and oxidation, the primary causes of spoilage. So oxygen goes out, but moisture stays inside. What could go wrong? Learning from nature, it's mimicking the cuticle layer, made from food to protect your food. Note it's even being put on apples where the skin of the apple isn't exactly a peel. Like, I don't know that I want this on my oranges, but at least with oranges, some of them, like if you're not zesting your oranges, at least you're not eating the thing that this is on. But it's also being put on fruit where you actually, most people eat the outside layer of the fruit. And I mean, citrus is actually a bad example too, because a lot of us zest our citrus and use it abundantly and in a lot of our food. So this is a thin, edible post-harvest coating made from plant-derived materials designed to be consumed that meets the FDA requirements for qualification as generally recognized as safe in the United States. That's a technical term, generally recognized as safe grass. Appeal's Edapeel is allowed for use on fruits and vegetables in the U.S., Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Japan, Kenya, Mexico, Peru, and South Africa without restriction. Additionally, it's allowed for use on a limited number of fruits, basically in the European Union and Norway, Switzerland, the United Kingdom. And if you look through their list of fruits, other than citrus, it's fruits where normally people are not eating the outside layer. Now, if I may have my screen back for a moment, they do claim that... I wonder where it is. Well, I'm just going to read from my screen because I don't see it on their website at the moment. Another quote from their website: a peel is composed entirely of purified monoglycerides and diglycerides, edible compounds that can be found in a variety of foods. They are safe to eat as verified by regulatory authorities around the world, including Health Canada, the United States FDA, and the World Health Organization. Well then, what could go wrong? In fact, they are so safe they can be found in products designed for the most sensitive populations, including infant formula and nutrition shakes for the elderly. Sorry, not a good enough argument. When I try to figure out exactly what is in this this product, I'm going to see if I can find the facts, which I'm at the moment here. You can actually, if you want, show my screen here, Zach. Questions? We've got answers. All about appeal, yada, 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 yada. What is in appeal? What is appeal made of? That sounds promising, right? There is one ingredient in appeal: purified mono and diglycerides. It's one ingredient, purified. A food ingredient that is found in a variety of foods. And again, the same line. The safety of these ingredients has been verified by regulatory authorities around the world, the FDA, the World Health Organization. In fact, the ingredient is so safe it is included in products designed for the most sensitive populations, including an Ensure and infant formula as well. I'm sorry, still not good enough. I can't tell exactly what it is. Is it safe to eat? Of course it's safe to eat. It's only composed of food-grade ingredients made from materials that exist in the peels, seeds, and pulp of all the fruits and vegetables we already eat. Aside from whether or not the thing itself is safe to eat, though, what is going to be the effect on, say, an avocado? And again, their site comes up with different things whenever you click on things, so I'm not coming up with, they've got this image of like 28 days in the fridge, an avocado without a peel, an avocado with a peel on it. The avocado without a peel, if you've ever bought an avocado and forgotten about it, you know what it looks like after a few weeks in the fridge. It looks withered and wrinkled, and if you cut into it, you realize you really don't want to eat it. Maybe your dog does, maybe not. It's probably best for the compost pile.
If your dog doesn't, our dog does.
Probably so. Unless we've got Sundays, in which case she prefers that. But with a peel, the avocado still looks the same. Okay, the oxygen's been going out for 28 days. The water's been staying in. What else does that do to the food that you are eating? Presumably, if an avocado with its own resources could make it last longer and therefore have a greater chance of being found by the seed disperser that avocados want to be dispersed by, it would have done so. So there must be some trade-off. And these people probably don't know what it is, or if they do, they're certainly not telling us. All of which leads me to the tagline for these people, which, I kid you not, is food gone good. Which suggests that when you just pick avocado or orange or an apple off a tree, it's not good yet. What it needs is a little technological interference to make it become good, and then you can go ahead and eat it. This strikes me as of a type. This product might be okay, right? But this strikes me as of a type that we are now seeing more and more and more of. I know no one likes to have their fruits and vegetables wither in the refrigerator. Therefore, we are going to put something on them so that they don't appear to have lost any water. What else happened, though? And guess what? The fresher your food, the better it is for you. And is that 2-week-old avocado in your refrigerator better for you than something that was made 2 years ago and made shelf stable? Yeah, still. But it's far better for you if you eat it when you buy it. And the U.S. apparently is tops in food waste. Like we do a lot of wishful thinking when we're at the market, and we buy stuff, and not we in particular, but we do too. Like the Americans buy things, put them in their produce drawers, even in their meat drawers, and things go bad, and that's terrible and wasteful. The solution is not slap a technological fix on it and let's hope for the best about whether or not the fruit remains the same inside. The solution is eat fresh food when you buy it.
So there's a lot to worry about here.
Yeah.
Am I right? It's amazing to discover that this is happening at the point that it is authorized.
Right.
This is obviously a major change in the way food is going to be produced. It's going to change a great many things. Even if these ingredients were actually safe, which they may be,
right,
this is now going to make them a much larger fraction of the diet, right? So there's nothing that says that that's inherently safe, even if the ingredients in some lower quantity are safe. As you point out, there's a difference between something on an orange peel and something on an apple.
Yep.
Right? We went through this with Alar. When you and I were kids, Alar was sprayed on apples, and then it turned out there was a problem with Alar.
Oh, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Anyway, there's a lot to worry about here. I also get an echo of, you remember back when, is it aspartame is the sweetener that was introduced?
That's NutraSweet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the commercials at the point that this was introduced?
Not
so
yet.
at the time, saccharin existed. It was known that there were problems with saccharin, and it didn't taste very good.
It's bitter. Still in products, though, even now.
Of course.
Yeah.
But NutraSweet was introduced, and people were already alarmed about saccharin. Mm-hmm. And so there was a sort of like, should you worry about this? Mm-hmm. And
have some with a side of margarine.
Right. The ad campaign involved, what is NutraSweet? Well, NutraSweet is made with components that are found in many common foods, like a so-and-so and a such and such. And I can't remember what it was, but it was, like melons and something. And it led to the impression that really that this was food that had just been sort of slightly reorganized, right? Yep. When in fact, chemically, it's a much more radical departure from normal than that. And has medical implications that, of course, took years to emerge. But anyway, the idea that something in a broad chemical class that is common in foods, right? It's a little like if I said, do you know what a peel is composed of? Quarks. That's it.
That's good.
Let's quarks. Just put some quarks. That's what all of your food is made of. Yeah. No, it's quarks. You're afraid of eating quarks? Well, you're going to go awfully hungry, right? So it's that kind of game where the average person in the public is not in a position to say, well, you actually you've said something that sounds chemically sophisticated, but you haven't given me enough information to know, whether or not this version of it is as safe as the version of it that happens to be in the same class that I do eat.
Yes.
Right? So anyway, it's all like shell games and, exactly right. Slick advertising campaigns designed to make something look friendly and like it's a contributor to Earth well-being, because of course spoiling food is a major cause of, overuse of water. And
you're not in favor of food waste, are you?
Right, exactly. And
I didn't know. You're one of those people in favor of food waste.
I didn't know that, but I guess I'm glad to make the discovery.
Can I share a few more facts?
Sure.
You may share my screen if you'd like. This is again from Appeal's site. Can you taste or smell a peel after it is applied? No, a peel is colorless, odorless, and tasteless on produce. Apparently at this point, there is required to be a sticker. But might that regulation disappear at some point, at which point you simply can't tell? In another part of the site, they tout the fact that it's invisible. Fan-fucking-tastic. Great. Okay, are fruits and vegetables cleaned before a peel is applied? All fruits and vegetables, regardless of whether a peel has been applied, are subject to food safety laws of the country where the produce was grown, as well as the food safety laws of the country where the produce is sold. Not an answer. What that means is, if we had to, we did. If we didn't have to, we didn't, probably.
It means...
And it means that you, as the consumer of something to which a peel has been applied, do no longer have the ability to clean off your fruit of whatever it may have had before the peel was applied. That's you've lost that. Can I wash a peel off? No. You could. They don't say no. What they say is you could likely remove some of a peel with water and scrubbing, but it's unlikely that you'd be able to remove all of it without damaging the fruit or vegetable. Yada 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 yada. So again, like I wanted to mention this because this seems fine. Like this is going to be a thing that most people are going to be like, oh, okay. Like there are a lot more important hills to die on than this one, but. This is the kind of thing that is getting more and more common. Right. I want my food to be food. Mm-hmm. I don't want my food to have technological intervention that is touted as invisible. What, to protect me from myself, to protect me from knowledge, to protect me from not being non-compliant again?
Well, and, and we're going to increasingly run into this with all kinds of nonsense being introduced into food products in various ways. Right. But if we have a label requirement, right? Effectively, if you want to avoid this, you may not be able to, right? If it's going to be sprayed on by, will a company that has fruit that doesn't have this stuff be able to compete, right? Is your supermarket going to have organic food with this stuff and without? No, it's going to have it with this stuff unless there's an all-out rebellion.
Yeah. No, and distributors and markets will prefer it because then they, because
right.
When did you last see, and I think the answer is never, an indication in the produce section of a grocery store, this is when this was picked. This is how long this is spent in transit. What you do is you hold it up and maybe you smell it and you assess it. And this is one of the hard parts of very early COVID lockdowns. Like, I'm not allowed to touch the fruit. How am I supposed to choose what fruit I want, right? So if there is no separate indication of when it was picked, and now you could be buying fruit from a month ago.
Yeah.
And because it's been appealed, there is no indication. You are already buying old food. Mm-hmm. And the producers who don't put appeal on their food are going to be at an economic disadvantage because for obvious reasons, yep. And therefore be driven out of business.
And so you might predict that you would have an increase in deficiencies, a cryptic increase in deficiencies because right. People are eating older food. So their habit, which used to make them not deficient, is now making them deficient because of a change in the supply chain that they can't detect.
Right.
I would also point out that the idea that you can't wash this off the fruit is also suggestive. That's an awfully durable coating.
It like impregnates, or I don't know, I'm making that up, but like, why can't you?
Hard to imagine it impregnates an apple.
Yeah.
And even if it does, right, if the pores in the apple are enough for this coating to work its way in there such that you can't wash it off with soap, then the point is it's sort of beyond a certain chemical threshold. This does not sound like a normal component. Maybe it is, but
it's a single ingredient, mono and diglycerides.
Wait, can I say something? Yes. Granted, what they've said is very vague, intentionally, of course, yes. But assuming that it is roughly in the right neighborhood of true, whatever it's supposed to mean, that this is basically mimicking, if you peel an orange and then you bend one of the peels in front of a candle or a flame, it'll catch on fire. You're spraying a little bit of oil. And also if you take an apple and like just any apple and like rub it in your hands for a while, it gets really shiny. There are coatings and such that are bonded to the skins of lots of fruits, and I think they showed an avocado on their site, and I can imagine the same thing there. Mm-hmm. And so I think the idea is you have some natural level of coatings like this on fruit, which is probably at that level for a reason, of course, and that this is going to bond to all of that and just increase that.
Well, this is the
So I
Alar.
can imagine that they're right there, that's not inherently a problem that it can't come off because it is bonding to something natural. Although I imagine there's a reason that level of those coatings wasn't naturally increased in fruits because
That's exactly right. Like, this, like seemingly all of the technological innovations put the burden of discovery of what the problem is on the consumer. The precautionary principle suggests that shouldn't be our job. We should be allowed to continue to buy food that hasn't been messed with, as opposed to having to think through what all the possible effects might be, how likely we think they are, how bad they are if they do happen, and on balance, whether or not we prefer A over B.
So, what testing was done here? Do we know?
I don't know. I did not delve that deeply. I know. How can I invest? I know how I can invest in Appeal of
good.
Sciences. No, I can't. A privately held company at this time. You want to hear the investors? That's not an answer to your question.
I guess I'm curious now that you mentioned
The
it.
investors in the privately held company Appeal Sciences include Andreessen Horowitz, DBL Partners, Upfront Ventures, S2G Ventures, Viking Global Investors, Power Plant Ventures, Temasek, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What is the appeal solution? You asked like what research was done.
I want to know what safety testing was done.
Is it safe? It's safe. What if I have a food allergy? Is appeal a chemical? That's a stupid question.
you said they would do about quarks, though. Read it.
Appeal is made of the molecules that exist in the fruits and vegetables we already eat. To learn more about what appeal is made of, click here. I'm clicking there. Product safety. Yeah. It's made of molecules. So am I. Thin edible post-harvest coating, statement of compliance, regulatory information, ingredients, a mixture of food-grade glycerolipids. Yeah, I don't. Product responsibility, right information sheet. I clicked on these; they were not useful. No, they're actually very short. There's nothing here. Yeah, at least for the U.S.
Well, I'd be very interested to know how well it was tested and, importantly, for how long. It's very difficult to test safety in something like this because, A, as DarkHorse viewers well know, the animals that we would typically test this on are predisposed to endure chemical insults that a human wouldn't. But also, even if they weren't, even if you used wild mice instead of Jack's Lab specials, you would still run into the problem that mice are not long-lived. And so we typically use the rubric that giving large quantities to a mouse over a short period of time ought to tell us what low quantities in a human over a long period of time will do. But there's no reason to actually think that's true.
But it pencils out on the back of the envelope,
gives
same
us-
amount over
it
time,
gives us
right?
something to say. But the point is, what would I really want in order to know that this was safe? Well, I'm not a fan of primate studies, but I would at least want to see long-term primate studies, as in decades. And frankly, I wouldn't want this deployed over the entire human population, all at once, for many reasons, including, once again, they're going to deny us a control group. Right? Which is kind of their point, I think. Anytime you deploy something globally, you eliminate a certain amount of your legal jeopardy because there's no control group to compare you to. So, suddenly we see an increase in whatever pathology. Well, that could be anything.
It's
right?
good.
So this is a very troubling pattern. And, we used to have a regulatory apparatus that was, at least on paper, obsessive about making sure that the tests were done, which was a never-ending annoyance to the people who produced these new products because it meant that profits were a long way down the road and might never be realized. But that's far better than a free-for-all in which you can bring any old thing to market because it's made of quarks. I mean, this is nonsense. We might as well have no regulation,
Right.
which is what the developing world faces pretty much.
Yep.
Right. That's where we're becoming a global banana republic.
Perfect. Okay, Zach has one more thing to say before we finish off on hummingbirds.
Yeah, someone mentions that we do already put wax on apples, and the point that you're trying to make is that the issue with this is there's no control group. You can buy many apples with wax, but you can also buy an organic apple, and I'm assuming that is supposed to be free of that stuff.
I would also point out that wax is a substance with which humans have a many thousand year.
Yep. But even
million
if there was
history.
great testing and this product doesn't actually, even if there's no problem with this product whatsoever, the fact that it's going to be arbitrarily thrown in the category of organic
Yep.
can't make sense. That has to be a category that is preserved as a real thing.